What is going on, everyone? Are you looking to save a little money? If you said yes, keep watching. The United States has 50 states, as we all know, and each one has its good things and its bad things. Some are dangerous, some are not. Some are educated, some are Arkansas. And some are expensive, while others not so much. Today's list is about how cheap it is to live in each state. Everybody likes cheap, especially since we might be heading into some lean times with the economy. People will be looking for cheaper places to live. Today's list is about the cost of living, sort of. The cost of living and how it's added up for all 50 states is far too complicated and probably will get very boring covering each state. So we found a more viewer-friendly way to do it. What is $100 worth in each state? The Bureau of Economic Analysis does a study every few years and comes up with a list that shows the real value of $100 in each state. Prices for the same goods are often much cheaper in states like Missouri or Ohio than they are in like New York or California. As a result, the same amount of cash can buy you comparatively more in lower price states than in higher price states. You follow me? I hope so. Let's get started. Number 50, Hawaii. If you didn't know Hawaii was expensive, you've never looked into moving here, or bought a gallon of milk for that matter. Most everything has to be shipped, so things like milk are $4.69 on average, and your $100 is only worth $84.67. 49, New York. Who didn't see this one coming? People cry in line at the grocery store in New York City. $85.91 is what you get for your $100 there. Milk's only the good thing, and that's $1.99. Everything else is going to kill your checking account. 48. California. California is called the Golden State because that's where the gold rush happened. These days, you need a lot of gold to live here. $86.66 is what you get for your $100. 47. New Jersey. New Jersey is like the illegitimate cousin of New York, so it makes sense that they're expensive. $88.17. 46. Massachusetts. I guess baked beans and good beer will set you back a little bit. You get $91.16 for your $100 here. 45. Maryland. It looks like bullets are expensive in the Free State. $92.25 equals $100 in Maryland. 44. Washington State, not D.C. Your green doesn't go too far in the evergreen state. You only get $92.76 for your $100. And you know, I gotta tell you, I didn't see this one coming. I always assumed Washington State was kind of cheap. Guess I was wrong. 43. Connecticut. This is already considered the worst state in New England without taking in the cost of living. $94.25 is what you get. 42. New Hampshire. The Granite State, you get $94.34 for your 100 large. 41. Alaska. A lot like Hawaii, everything has to be shipped to the land of moose and grizzly, so prices can get a little steep. I bought groceries in this state. It was ugly. Now, I was in a kind of a rural, out-of-the-way place, so they were probably a little bit more than Anchorage, but it was still expensive. You get $94.42 for your 100 here. Number 40. Vermont. I thought we'd see the Green Mountain State a little bit earlier. I guess I was wrong. It's a very desirable state to move to, and that normally means it's expensive, and then the real estate can get a little pricey, but you get $97.09 for your 100 here. 39. Virginia. They got jobs, history, and good people, so you have to expect to pay a little extra in Virginia. $100 is only worth $98.04 here. 38. Colorado. Hey, look, Middle America. Sort of. The Centennial State gets us closer to breaking even with $98.14. 37. Oregon. Coffee, strip clubs, and tattoos will set you back, and it shows. $98.91 is what $100 is worth in Oregon. 36. Florida. The Sunshine State is expensive all along the coast. The only reason they aren't more is because if you drove 25 miles inland from any coastal city, it turns into Mississippi in a hurry. $99.40 is what your $100 is worth in Florida. 35. Maine. The Pine State is even. They are the average. You get your full $100 for your money in Maine. That means when you buy $100 worth of Moxie soda, you get $100 worth of Moxie soda. There you have balance. 34. Rhode Island. Little Rhodey is where you start getting a little more bang for your buck. $100.70 is what you get for $100 in Rhode Island. You can get more stuffies than most New England states. 33, Delaware. The first state shows up at number 33. A little lower than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be higher and more expensive. This is probably because their only real major city is so dangerous nobody wants to live there. Most of the time, big cities will raise the cost of living. Not Wilmington. You get $101.21 for your $100 in Delaware. 32, Illinois. Illinois comes in 32. Your $100 is worth $101.94 in Illinois. You can buy $100 worth of Giordano's pizza and still get a Coke. God, I miss that pizza. You know it's bad when you're talking to someone about a voiceover job in Chicago and all you could think about is, yes, I get to eat pizza. 31, Pennsylvania. The Keystone State is a good place to save some money. They have great rural towns that have cheap yet beautiful land, and your $100 is worth $102.29 here. 30. Minnesota. The land of 10,000 lakes is attractive in a lot of different ways. The land is great and the people are very inviting. Why not? They got plenty of places to fish, and your $100 is worth $102.50 here. 29. Nevada. The Silver State isn't very expensive, unless, of course, you like to hit the casinos. That tends to cost more than you have. Thankfully, the land is dirt cheap in most of the state, and mostly because that's all it is. It's dirt. Most of the time. Your $100 is worth $102.56 here. 28. Texas. And finally, we get to the Lone Star State, Texas. Like I've said before, Texas knows how to run a state. Their cities have lower crime than most cities of similar size. They have good paying jobs on average, and their cost of living isn't crazy. That $100 is worth $103.31 in Texas. 27. Utah. The Beehive State isn't a bad place to live. Education is solid, crime isn't bad, and nobody makes lame jokes about having multiple wives anymore. That is all that came out of anyone's mouth that thought they were the slightest bit funny for the longest time. You couldn't mention Utah without someone saying something about having multiple wives. Be married to one woman and you'll realize that having multiple ones is, it's not a good deal. Trust me. But your $100 here in Utah, it's worth $103.52. That's not bad. 26. Arizona. We have a subscriber here at The World According to Briggs named Gary. Anytime anything positive is said about the Grand Canyon State, Gary acts like he was directly involved in the decision-making of whatever it is. It could be something that happened 75 years ago, and Gary will leave a comment like he's the dude that did it for the state. So, in the spirit of things, Gary, thank you for making $100 worth $103.63 in Arizona. 25. Montana. Life is inexpensive in Big Sky Country. They have a lot of open land and good down-to-earth people that don't know Gary. Congratulations on that, Montana, and the fact that 100 will get you 107.18. 24. Georgia. The Peach State has a lot going for it outside of Atlanta. The state is very inexpensive. You have great smaller cities sprinkled throughout the state that won't cost you an arm and a leg to survive there, and that helps the state averages. 100 is worth $107.53 in Georgia. 23. Wyoming. The Cowboy State doesn't have many people. They are actually the least populated state with just under 600,000 residents. That's not a lot of people. It kind of breaks down to 6 people per square mile. Per square mile. That's nuts. Anyway, there's a lot of open land there. It's not too crowded and it's not too expensive. 100 will get you 107.87 in Wyoming. 22. Idaho. The Gem State was named after a young girl named Ida. A man named George Willing told people that it was a Native American name that meant Gem of the Mountains. It didn't, not at all. He fessed up later and they decided to stick with the name anyway, even using it as the basis for the state's nickname, the Gem State. 100 will get you 108.11 here. 21. Michigan. The Wolverine State comes in at 21, with 100 getting you 108.23. I'm sure the fact that Detroit is on the lower end of cost of living has a lot to do with it. 20. Wisconsin. The Badger State is a state that has far more good things than bad, in my opinion. Other than a few neighborhoods in the cities, the rest of the state has very low crime and poverty. It's a beautiful state with great people, and it's very family orientated. On top of that, $100 is worth $108.81. 19. North Carolina. The Tar Heel State is the greatest state in the United States or any place else that has states, and you'd be lucky to live there. That is according to my friend Greg, who I worked with at Nike. 100 is worth $108.93 in North Carolina. 18. New Mexico. The cost of living is very low in New Mexico and the poverty is very high. But it is the land of enchantment, and $100 will get you $109.77. You can find land for about that price per acre in the New Mexico desert. 17. South Carolina. If you ever visit Charleston, South Carolina, you will probably think I'm crazy when I say that your money goes a little further in this state. My advice is venture out of the cities and into the rural areas, and you'll see what I'm talking about. 16. North Dakota. The Peace and Garden State isn't really a place people are moving to when the oil industry isn't booming. In my opinion, that may change as working remotely becomes more common. Everything is cheap in this state, so it only makes sense that 100 is worth $110.38. 15. Kansas. The Sunflower State is a great state for retiring, watching paint dry, and saving a buck. There isn't a lot to do here compared to any place else in the country or planet after Nebraska and Iowa. So you can save some money in entertainment, and 100 is worth $111.11. 14. Tennessee. The volunteer state isn't a state of backwoods toothless moonshiners anymore. I'm joking. It totally is in some parts, really. But some of their cities are great, and they're very modern regardless of the stereotypes. 100 is worth $111.23. 13. Nebraska. Lucky number 13 is the Cornhusker State. I firmly believe that is the worst state nickname in the nation. That's just my opinion. What do you think is the worst? Let me know in the comment section below. Nebraska is a very inexpensive state to live across the board. Everything's cheap here. 100 is worth $111.73 in Nebraska. 12. Indiana. The Hoosier State has a lot of low-budget rural areas that help the state stay cheap on average. Even the big cities aren't terribly expensive compared to other big cities in other states. 100 is worth $111.98. 11. Iowa. If you haven't picked up on it yet, the Midwest is one of the cheaper regions in the United States, and Iowa is really cheap. Especially if you like eating corn. That's like dirt cheap there. Actually, you can drive down the road and just pull it off the stalk. 100 will get you $112.11 worth the stuff in the Hawkeye State. Number 10, Louisiana. And we venture back into the South with the Pelican State. Nothing in this state is terribly expensive. Land, food, utilities, transportation, nothing. Even the big cities are cheaper again compared to other cities of the same size in different states. 100 is worth $112.23. Number 9, Missouri. The Show Me State will show you really low prices. Okay, lame joke, I know. Moving on. Let's act like it never happened. Missouri is a very low cost of living state, and it isn't a horrible place to live. It's actually really nice, especially if you like the great outdoors. 100 is worth $112.61 here. Number 8, Ohio. The Buckeye State is cheap and getting cheaper thanks to people flooding out of most of the major cities in the last decade or so. 100 will get you $113.12 worth the stuff. Number 7, Oklahoma. And now we get back to Tornado Alley with the Sooner State. Oklahoma has been cheap since forever, and that trend should continue. Land, food, utilities, and entertainment are always in the lower end of the price scale in Oklahoma. And it shows. 100 is worth $113.16. Number 6, South Dakota. This one surprised me. I would have thought for sure South Dakota would be more expensive than North Dakota, but apparently not. Most people consider this place as a more appealing state. 100 is worth $113.77 in South Dakota. Number 5, Kentucky. The Bluegrass State is another state people move to save a buck. They have forever. It's just how it's always been. Kentucky always reminds me of Oregon and Pennsylvania whenever I visit. It's very green with creeks and rivers everywhere. 100 is worth $113.90 in the Bluegrass State. Number 4, West Virginia. The Mountain State comes in at number 4, and this place is a great place to live if you bring a job with you. It's incredibly cheap, but they don't have many jobs, so, you might want to bring your own. They're getting better. They just have a very long way to go. So get in while it's cheap. 100 is worth $113.92 in the Mountain State. Number 3, Alabama. And we finish off our last 3 in the South with the Heart of Dixie kicking things off, or the Yellowhammer State, whichever you prefer. 100 is worth $115.75 in Alabama. 2, Mississippi. When you aren't the best place to live, you tend to be a little less expensive. When there isn't much demand, prices go lower. That's just how things work, sort of like a short-sleeve business suit. Nobody wants them, so they're really cheap, just like Mississippi. 100 get you 116.28 worth the bug repellent here. And number 1. Arkansas. The natural state ends our list with the most bang for your $100. You can live good on about $30,000 a year in this state. In some places, you could live like a king. Not a king that gets to rule over anyone or anything like that, unless you have a bunch of raccoons hanging out and then you rule over them. But yeah, their natural state. Why not? 100 gets you 117.19 in the natural state of Arkansas. All right, I hope you guys like this type of list. I enjoyed it. I've got a couple other ones lined up. If we get enough views and enough likes and you tell me what you think about it in the comment section, we'll do another one. Different categories, not the same one, obviously. But yeah, I like this one. Anyway, don't forget all the links below. Give the video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.